So you've probably heard of the term spirit guide, but what is a spirit guide and do we all have them? If you want to learn more about that, stay tuned for this episode. Hello, I was having my morning coffee and was thinking about how last night on a walk, when I was taking my dog for a walk, I decided for some odd reason to take a different sidewalk than I usually do. And as I was walking up this, I just happened to look down and I found a blue feather. This is the second one I've found in the last probably 3 months. I don't ever remember finding a blue feather in my life. Last year, when I was on a hike, I found a red one. And I had lost my dad to cancer in 2020. And we had this strange thing with him before he passed where he loved his birds. He loved his red birds. My stepmom and him had a couple in their backyard that they would watch of red birds, and they would feed them. If they went out of town, they would call me and ask me to go feed the red birds and feed the birds while they were out of town so that they could make sure they always had something to come to. And so it's always been just this special thing for me to correlate red birds with my dad, which most people do that with the death of a loved one or having someone transition back into spirit and having red birds visit you as a sign as your loved one being there. But what's interesting is if you look behind me here, I have a whole thing of feathers. I found all of these in the last year. Prior to my awakening, I had no idea that we had spirit guides. And after my awakening, and I began to open myself up to new understandings of spirituality and connecting with my higher self through meditation. And I started to look back through my life at all of the crazy experiences I've had where I would see shadows or I would see spirits, where I would walk beside something like a TV and it would suddenly turn on, or a noise would happen, or you would hear someone walking that wasn't there, or when I would hear voices in my head as a child, all the things that society and the world would consider kind of crazy. After I had my spiritual awakening in 2016, I wasn't really sure what was happening to me. I did hear audible voices that came through and helped me through this process at the beginning of that process. If you would like to learn more about that, I encourage you in my first book, Leaf Lessons. I do talk about the experience I had with my guides the very first time I actually heard their voice. I didn't know at the time that's who they were. However, when I began to develop a relationship with my guides, I began to understand that they had always been present with me. And when I began to build a relationship with them, they began to show me different times that they had been with me and how they'd assisted me and supported me. However, here's the thing about spirit guides. They will not intervene on our human life. They will not intervene or force us to do things. They will simply attempt to guide us or give us signs to lead us in the right direction towards our purpose or what we're here to do, the assignment we chose to come to Earth to do this time. And when I was off track for many years because I had gotten caught up in a religion at age 16, started, and then around, I would say in my 30s, late 20s to early 30s, I really started to question my faith and what I believed. And in 2016 is when my guides came through and basically told me I was doing it wrong. And so I began to tune in and listen. And there was a feeling inside of me I knew I could not ignore. There was something that had changed in that moment. There was something that I knew I had heard of these beings or a voice say to me something that was very profound that I didn't realize was guiding me at the time. And so when I began to study and open myself up to things outside of religion and develop my spiritual gifts and my abilities and connect with spirits on the other side after my dad passed, that really opened up for me in many ways. I do believe I always probably had that connection, but had shut that off because of my religious beliefs and the fear of contacting something evil, which that's a whole nother subject that I can share about some other time. However, for the sake of this episode, I do want to talk about what spirit guides are and their role in our life. So this is all based on my own understanding and my own development of getting to know my own guides. And so you might hear other experiences with other people that are very different. However, I do believe that if this finds you, that it will be beneficial and supportive for you in some type of way, that you are meant to find this. And so I do send that energy out for those who are really ready to hear this information and understand it on a different frequency level, which if you listen to my last episode, we're all moving into. We're all changing frequency and moving in. If you didn't feel it last night, I believe today is June 28th. The energy was intense. I don't know much about the Schumann resonance or the earth frequency, but I did look it up when I got up this morning and noticed that it had a very strange white line for, it seemed quite a while on there. It was just pure white. So I will be anxious to hear what people say about that. But I really sensed that it was us waking up to a higher understanding of who we are spiritually, and that we're not just human, that we are spirits that came to have a human experience. And so when we choose, which we all choose to be a human, which is kind of crazy that we make this choice to come and live this life on this human earth and what we call earth, because there are actually very billions of other choices that we could have made instead of being a human. There is life on other planets. There is life in other parts of the universe. We would be very small-minded to believe that we are the only beings in the universe. And so when we get out of the concept that we are that our human self is the only thing that is in existence, and that we are the only part of what God loves, we can humble ourselves a little bit and understand that we are actually part of a bigger system working together. And so when we come into that understanding and we develop the awareness in our consciousness that we are a spirit experiencing human life, prior to moving into the human body as a baby, we have contracts and we have guides that we work with. And there are other, what we would say as humans now, but there are other spirits that we incarnate with, we come to this earth with, and we probably have been with them multiple times in different roles. And I think about people that I've had in my life and how there's just certain people that I connect with more than others. And there's just something on a spiritual level. There's a soul level connection with these people. And if you think about the billions or the millions of people you meet in your lifetime, there's only a certain amount that you connect with on that deep level. And in some sense, that could be your soul tribe or the souls that you contracted with to come to earth to learn with and to grow with. And so the thing is there is an understanding of how the frequency of the earth is very much different than what it is that we've come from in our spirit. And so these guides, these spirits, these angels will assist us in our life to help us and guide us. Now, if we have chosen to come and live a certain life, or wanted to accomplish something, they will attempt to help guide us towards that, but they will never force themselves on us. They will never overstep the boundary of human free will, because we are given free will in this human life. And so when we begin to develop that relationship with them, we can ask them to come and assist us, and they can understand that it's not overstepping a boundary with us. It's simply working along with us and helping us towards that mission that we've wanted to accomplish here. And so if you're feeling a change in you're feeling a pull in you towards something in your life, and you're not sure, and maybe you haven't met your guides, maybe you didn't even know you had spirit guides, this is part of what they're doing. Not only is in your own spirit and your own intuition and your inner knowing, your connection with all things, with God, the universe, pulling you towards something, it is your guides trying to help you as well. However, they're not going to overstep a boundary in order for you to work with them. I believe in many ways that the reason that I was able to hear that voice in 2016, or the voices, I guess, was because I had been seeking and seeking and seeking diligently for the truth. I'd been seeking for my purpose. I'd been seeking for my calling. And even though I was in religion, I do believe that you can still manifest things in your life based on your intentions, based on your desires. And so because I was so diligently seeking and praying and reading my Bible and wanting to know the truth, I opened that door for them to come in and begin to communicate with me. And when that opened up, that gave them permission to start guiding me towards the right direction of my life. And what's interesting is after that process happened, I felt all these internal pulls to do things I probably never, ever would have done prior to that moment, where I ended up quitting my job. I had this huge internal pull to reconcile with my dad, and I never would have imagined doing that. Like, something in me was like, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And I fought it for probably a couple months, but I just kept feeling it. And so finally I gave in. And I'm really glad I did, because just within 6 months, he had been diagnosed with cancer. And then I got to spend those last 3 years with him in his life, which was very special for me. And had I not listened to that voice, had I not listened to that pull that I had, I would have missed that. The other thing was I quit church. I did go to a different church, because at the time I still was very it just made sense that if you're spiritual, you go to church. But eventually then that was no longer a part of my life as well. The other thing I did was I quit listening to only Christian music. I began to get to know myself more, and I started my healing journey. And after I had my awakening and began to work with my guides, they began to guide me towards the people and the resources I needed in my life to help me take the right steps and the action I needed to heal certain things in my life. Prior to that, I think I had attempted to heal many times, but I hadn't ever done the deep work like I have in the recent years. And I do believe that my guides were a part of leading me to where I was meant to be in this season of my life, and with the person and people that I was meant to be with. And because I could have never imagined actually picking the things that I picked for myself without this internal this pull on the inside of me to do what I did. And it's really amazing to look back sometimes and see how that relationship that you've had with your guides, with your spirit, with your team on the other side, how they've been assisting you, and maybe you haven't even noticed it. And so I know it can feel intimidating to think about meeting guides and spirits on the other side when that is not something you've experienced before. However, I do want to take the taboo around it away. I want to make sure that you understand that it is not demonic or evil. However, there is things that you should do to protect yourself when you begin to open yourself up in this way spiritually. And so in that case, I do want to invite any woman that is listening that is on a spiritual journey or path to come and join our Women Awaken Circle. We meet twice monthly. I teach about this stuff. I help you understand spiritual boundaries, energetic boundaries, how to work with your spirit team. And I also do channeling. I will open myself up to allow my spirit team, which the name that we have come up with each other for each other, they're the guides is what I the name that they have given me for how they're working. And so if you would like to be a part of that, I would love to invite you. You can get on my website, angieharris.net, and look for that Woman Awaken Circle. And I also want to let you know there's several free resources on there. I have some meditations that you can access for free. And I also have a manifestation and meditation challenge that you can get on there. That's only $55. And so once you get that, you have access and you can do it as many times as you want. So all that being said, if you are on a path of wanting to know who your guides are, wanting to grow spiritually, wanting to understand all these things that maybe you haven't been able to understand prior to you kind of opening yourself to understanding more of this, then I would love to have you with us. But the most important thing is to remember that everything is love. When we keep our energy in the energy of love, we open ourselves to multiple experiences that can guide us and lead us on the right path. And so if you were seeking that in your life, I encourage you to continue that. Spend some time meditating, spend some time with your spirit, and ask your spirit team to reveal themselves in whatever way they would like to, because they will. So I look forward to sharing more with you about this, and I hope that this was helpful for you. Until next time, I wish you the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the universal love. Namaste.